Welcome back everyone. On your screen right now, I'm going to be showcasing two different examples of mistakes. One is going to be from a student of mine in Emerald tier, and one is going to be from a Master tier student. And you may be able to tell who's who, you may not, good on you if you can. But today we're going to be breaking down the biggest difference that I've noticed between the majority of Emerald tier and Master tier players. Now this video won't only benefit you if you're an Emerald tier, it should benefit the majority of the player base, but definitely less so if you're Masters and above. But if you're in a bracket, below there, then this video should definitely give you some value. So if this sounds good to you, let's not waste any more time and let's get started. Now, out of the two students you just saw, the student playing Irelia is a player in Emerald tier, and the guy playing Kennens is in Masters, and they're both currently learning these champs. So they're both adding a completely new champ to their champ pool, but their approach to learning and figuring out the champ was completely different. So we're going to be starting with the Emerald student, and before our review, so we reviewed the game together last week, I asked him, what is your game plan in this matchup? How are you going to win the Irelia vs Darius lane? And I'm going to be playing back exactly what he said, and we're going to be breaking down his response, the mentality behind it, and then the example itself. Now, before we start, what was your game plan heading into the Irelia vs Darius matchup?
I mainly just wanted to try to be at least even in CS and avoid losing any plates or unnecessary trades. So I started E, I believe, and I just want him to three-wave crash.
Now, to summarize what he said, his three main points were try to be even in CS, avoid losing plates or trades, start E and allow the Darius to three-wave crash. So the biggest issue I have with his game plan is there is no way for him to gain an advantage. There is no proactive play here, where if he said, I'm going to let Darius push, I'm going to try poke him down, with ease if he trades onto me, and on the bounce back, I'm going to play really aggressive, that's going to be okay. Or if you're going to try, take an aggressive trade level 1, queuing off the creep, maybe starting in the alcove and coming out by surprise when your minions are low. Really proactive ways to play the matchup. Now, I wouldn't recommend that level 1. With the Q start, of course, you should let Darius push, but you need a way in your game plan to play aggressive. And to clarify, when I ask him his game plans most of the time, when he's playing his comfort champions or matchups that he knows, his response is going to be a lot more aggressive. I want a 3-wave push, let the wave come in, abuse him on my level 2, or play a really aggressive level 1 on Fiora, stuff like that. But because he's learning the champion, and the first time he played this matchup, he got run down, he really struggled in it, and the Darius probably did well in the game. He's being very defensive here. So we're going to be breaking down the exact mistake, but you can see already straight away, he's playing a matchup he's uncomfortable in, and his mentality behind it is very passive. So starting the matchup review, you can see straight away he's walking in with his wave level 1 and warding this bush. So this is a pretty perfect level 1 in my opinion, because Darius is one of the strongest level 1 champs, and if Darius was in that bush trying to get behind him or take a big trade, all the minions would have chased him in, he could fight him, and if he hits the stun, he's going to win the trade, and also the minion wave will hit Darius so much that the wave will push back towards Irelia way faster. So far so good, really great start to the game. The issue comes later, where he's playing really passive. Right now the Darius approaches lane late, but that's fine, right? We have God Vision right now. He didn't know if Darius was in this bush or not. So he does have to respect. But as soon as he sees Darius, this is great, right? Eating all three of the creeps, getting all the minions. So far, a perfect start to this matchup. But the issue comes, very shortly. Where right now, this Darius is sitting really far back. He is playing a strong champ, but right now he's a Doran Shield Darius sitting really far back, so the Irelia has room to hit the wave. He should be touching the wave here and putting pressure on Darius to respond. If Darius tries to run him down, of course you can click backwards, but if Darius plays like this guy is, and he's sitting really far back, Irelia right now has a lot of room to hit the wave, which means even though he's not going to be trying to really get push, he may be able to get level 2 first in some games, but even if he doesn't, if Darius does it first, it's not going to be a big gap. Right now Darius is level 2 with a pretty noticeable gap. All the minions are high HP, it's really hard for him to get it, so if this Darius was more aggressive and had higher champion mastery, he could just run here and start zoning XP. But if Irelia was hitting the wave when they were both level 1, then he could get level 2 at a pretty similar timing. Worst case, you'd have to let one minion die in certain XP range, and if Darius tried to fight him here level 2 vs 2, then it would be more acceptable than, well, better for him than 2 vs 1. But you can see sitting really far back. He's versed Darius, he's struggled in the matchup before, and his mentality is just, stay even. Stay even CS, don't take any bad trades, so this Darius is stacking a really big wave. What also could happen is if you force a trade here and Darius hit him in the wave earlier, is that Darius might 2-wave crash. He might queue the whole wave and push too quickly, and if he 2-wave crashes, that means Irelia has a window to freeze the wave here and get level 3 before him and go for a level 3 vs 2 all-in. So a lot of aggressive windows could be created based off this Darius mistakes, but because his mentality is to go even, he's not opening himself up to any of those those opportunities. And now Cannon Wave comes in, again, not trying to freeze the casters out of tower or anything like that, even though he's got full HP and absorb life and Q healing. So really passive mentality here, and it's going to come back to bite him very shortly. And upcoming is the biggest mistake here, where he's about to get level 4, right? If your opponent 3-wave crashes, unless they're hitting the wave high up, they're a ranged champ or something, or a champ like Rumble, you're going to get level 4 while they're 3. So I'd really want him to be seeing, I'm going to be 4 on this timer, I've got D-Blade, if I can look for an all-in here. And he said in the example that we played before, that he's worried that Darius will kill him level 3 versus 4. And the problem I have with this, even if you're unsure, it's fine not to know, the perfect threshold of every single matchup. The issue I have is he's unsure. He doesn't know if he wins level 4 versus 3, but he hasn't tried to figure it out, which is really important for your learning. And we'll show an example later on, of how the Master Tier player learns a very, a matchup like this as well. But we can see he's about to get level 4. He should be running at this Darius. He should be really pressuring and making it hard for Darius to walk up. This minion is going to get him 4. But he let his passive stacks drop, and he's not even looking for that trade. It's the biggest issue here. Now, granted, Darius is respecting. That is nice of him. But we can see if he hit the minion right now, this caster minion got a low enough for an Irelia Q, he could go for a quick boom boom, get level 4, and look for that all-in if Darius makes one missed position. The issue is, we're not looking for it at all. It's not always going to be there, but we're not looking for it is the biggest issue in this matchup. And definitely, level 4 versus 3 with Doran's Blade, the Irelia will win, as long as you play it well. If you get your Q cancelled by his E, and you get hit by the outer part of Darius Q, there's a chance he wins it, but because you have 2 dashes, a stun, damage reduction, you have a lot of room to outplay that, which is definitely important for learning a new champ. But we can see, because we played really passive, Darius got a clean 3-wave crash, the cleanest bounce back ever. Now he's in a position where like, oh, I need to get this wave in, or I'm gonna die. But even then, it's still very passive. He's scared to clear this wave now, because he doesn't want to fight Darius. You've got this massive minion advantage, and you're level 4 versus 3, so it's really important that you get this wave in. Right now, if you don't get this wave in, he's going to freeze here. He's going to run you down with Ghost in his jungler. It's very difficult. So he should be trying to force it in. Q to this minion, hold W, and then one-shot the wave and try to fight him. Level 4 vs 3, you should be going for the fight right now, calling up your jungler if you feel scared, and attacking this matchup. The best way to learn a matchup and to learn a champion is to attack it if you don't know. Of course, if you know you're going to lose, don't just attack it blindly. But the issue is right here, right? He doesn't know that he can win 4 vs 3. He said it beforehand in the example, but the problem is he's not figuring it out. He should fight this guy to the death, and then he can review. Maybe he didn't dodge the Q. Maybe he got hit by the E and he got his Irelia Q cancelled, and then go from there. But right now, the biggest issue, the biggest takeaway from this matchup, was that he was just way too passive. So his learning on the specific Irelia vs Darius matchup, and Irelia in general, was very slowed down, because he didn't get to play out this matchup in a way where he made proactive decisions. This Darius just slowly crash wave 3, let the wave come back in. They were both full HP versus full HP, and then his jungler came to gank. So it's a very, copy-paste clear way to play from Darius, but we got punished from it on the Irelia side, even though our champion has a lot of skill expression and ways to outplay this matchup. And to quickly showcase one more example of a missed opportunity, not figuring out if you can win the trade or not, we can see here Darius has crashed a big wave, and Irelia is actually going to do something really good here, but he doesn't capitalize on the play that he's made himself. So we can see it. He's trying to bait out the Darius E very shortly. He walks up, gives Darius range, and he predicts the E and commits his W already. So boom, straight away, Darius goes in, and he actually dodges the Darius Q as well. So we can see Darius uses E, his Q, and his W, and he tanked a tower shot. Irelia's got bone plating as well, and all these are low minions. He could feel free to go in, E, Q, get the stun, and really play out this all-in. He can go into him, we jump back to minions if he needs to, heal off the wave while fighting, commit ulti as well, and he can figure out if he can win this all-in or not by really trying to take it. This is the best scenario for him in this situation when he's already behind from the jungle gank. He dodged the E, he dodged the Q. He outplayed it, so well. He outplayed every single one of Darius's abilities, but he didn't take the opportunity presented, to himself, because he's probably feeling he's already died here. He doesn't want to be the lose condition for his team, especially when he struggled in this matchup before. So his approach to this matchup and his game plan heading into it had made him have a really passive mentality, so he missed so many opportunities where he could have punished his Darius. So moving to our next example, this game we have the Master Tier student playing Kennens up against a Warwick. And again, he's learning this champion. It's a new champion in his pool, and you could probably guess he's never played the Warwick matchup in his life. How often do you see a Warwick? And especially if you're learning a new champ, you're not going to run into it very often. But we can see the approach he took compared to the previous example is going to be completely different. So straight away, even though he hasn't played this matchup before, and this is his blue, by the way, it's pretty much a split map scenario, he's going to play extremely aggressive. He E's in here to get the minion and damage the Warwick at the same time, and he takes a chunk in response. So already, he's made a key mistake to his base understanding of this matchup. When you play champions like Kennen and champions like Jace, these range versus melee matchups, your main goal is to stay high HP and chip away at them. You want to be taking 100 to 0 trades, getting them lower and lower, and get them to the point where they can't all-in you, where their condition is normally to stay high HP and all-in you on specific timers, right? Start of the bounce back level 4, maybe level 3, no, maybe level 6, but if they're already low HP before they get to their strong point, they're not going to be able to do so. But he's already traded a little bit of damage to Warwick for a little bit of damage in response, and especially, Warwick got a grass proc as well, got some health from it, it's not going to be worth it. But we can see he continues to play extremely aggressive, attacking this Warwick as much as he can, and he's doing his best to push himself and figure out the limitations of this matchup. And we'll see, yet again, he's going to play really aggressive. He's Eing in front of this Warwick, and this is going to be very consistent in a lot of Kennen matchups. When your E is on cooldown, you got to be respectful against these melee champs like Jax or Olaf or Camille. Or Warwick, for this example. If your E is on cooldown, you have to play less aggressive than you were before, but he doesn't mind, right? He's just going to attack this Warwick straight away, and Warwick got another opportunity to jump onto him. So already taking more damage than needed. Warwick cannot actually reach Kennen in this matchup until I'd say level 6, or unless he flashes onto him. But already we've lost over 200 HP at the level 2, right? Where you want to be staying high HP and getting this Warwick lower and lower and not trading HP like this. So this upcoming trade was good. He had 2 stacks onto him and he managed to get the stun and kite out straight away. You can see 100 to 0 trade. He took a little bit of damage to the minion, and you shouldn't tell him to out on 100 to 0. Taking a little bit of damage for a lot is of course going to be fine, but the main purpose is you want to be staying really high HP, above 90%, 85, 90% depending on matchup, and get them lower and lower. But we can see upcoming, he's going to make the major mistake of the matchup. Because so far it looks fine, right? Warwick's low, but keep in mind, he's low, but he's a Doran Shield second wind and a lot of sustain on this champion. So it's not going to be as valuable as if he was low, if he was like a Doran's Blade, Conqueror champ or something like that. But we can see now, the mistake is going to come up. So poking this Warwick down as much as he can. And again, 2 stacks on E, I'm going to go in, and he's not going to respect on this timer, even though his E is on cooldown and there's no way to stun. So boom, Warwick just flashes onto him, and the Kennen was already half HP, and Kennen has to flash away pretty sure. No, he gets chunked, sorry. And even though he had his flash, and this is kind of okay, we can see now 250 HP in this matchup, where you're in a lane where he can't really touch you, right? The only reason Warwick flashed onto him is because it's already half HP, and now he's so low to the point that it feels quite hard to play the matchup. He's really scared of getting ganked, or could go onto him if he plays too aggressive. So now it's really hard for him to punish this Warwick. You can see Warwick's even up in CS, which is another mistake in this matchup. He's prioritizing harassing Warwick so much, even though again, Doran Shield second wind and sustain, that he's missing a lot of minions. So you should be prioritizing getting perfect CS and poking down the Warwick instead of, this really heavy trading style where they're both low HP. This will always benefit the Bruiser. You'd way rather be a Jax or a Warwick or Camille and both be half than the Kennen be, full HP and just chipping away you slower and slower until it gets to the point where you can't all-in them anymore. So we can see already we're down in CS, even though it feels like we're winning because we hit this Warwick a lot. We're really scared of getting ganked. We're so low HP, and the Warwick feels very comfortable to pressure the Kennen right now. Not push him under tower, but you can see before he's moving and making Kennen react, and the Kennen does feel quite scared. So even though he doesn't really get punished and literally die here, he was unable to gain a lead. Look how many minions Warwick has now, and he's up in CS, because the approach he took to learning this matchup was wrong. However, he learned a lot more, in my opinion, and build more mastery on the champion than the example we saw before. So before, the Irelia played so passive that he didn't really get to see and figure out how playing aggressive would go. But now we can see from this example, the trade where he didn't get a stun, the E trade where he traded E for Q, was not a good trade, right? So bad trade here, but we can see the upcoming difference. I'll quickly speed up to it. When he has 2 stacks of passive and then commits E, where was it? Right here. 2 stacks of passive and then commits E. This was a good trade, so he's figuring out proactively the limits. How aggressive can I play, and to what conditions are the trades going to be good for me, and when are they going to be bad for me? So we're going to be wrapping it up by expanding on the concepts that we've been talking about and going through the main takeaways of this video. And one of the main ones is of course going to be proactive versus reactive mistakes. We can see the Master Tier player's mistakes on Kennen were actually a lot more obvious. He took really aggressive trades, he took a lot of damage that was unnecessary, and he lost a lot of minions. So not only is his review process a little bit easier, but he also figured out that he can E onto Warwick at certain timers and play aggressive, and he figured out on other timers where he didn't want to be using his E, he wanted to sit far back when he was on cooldown, and he learned really to prioritize minions over the harassing, especially versus these high sustained champs, whereas the Irelia's mistakes were a lot more reactive. He let the Darius do exactly what he wanted with the wave with the trades, and the wave ended up in a position where it was really hard for him to play that scenario out without Echo and Darius killing him. So moving forward, I genuinely hope if you find yourself in a matchup that you're unsure about, and there's a potential trade or an all-in, that you genuinely don't know, do I win or do I lose this? That your default should be to try to play it out. Try to outplay that trade or that all-in, and really build your champion mastery, and also figure out the, the ins and outs of that matchup. Now, I will say within reason, if you're one win, of promoting to a higher tier, hitting your rank goal, and your bot lane is 10-0, maybe you can play a bit more passive if your main purpose is to win the game, but for your improvement, it's always going to be better for you to play out that scenario and see if you genuinely win the trade or not. In my experience, the majority of players that I've met that have reached Challenger, they start off their journey playing extremely aggressive. They play really hard to dominate their lane as hard as they can, explode the game, and a lot of you may feel like, that sounds like me, I do that as well, but trust me, after watching, so many different players from different ranks, that's completely different how aggressive they're playing. There's been so many times on my journey, on my first climb to Challenger, that I went 0-10, 0-15, just playing extremely aggressive, and trying to build as much mastery and, win the matchup as hard as I possibly can. Now, that's not the most optimal way. Of course, if I had the knowledge I had now back then, I could have learned a lot faster, but in terms of, building that champion mastery and improving on your matchups and your trading patterns, you really need to be playing it out if you're unsure. I promise you, the majority of Emerald players that I've watched, if they're in a scenario where they don't know the matchup that well and they don't know if they win the trade or not, they decide to play it safe. They sit back and they don't really try to figure it out. And the reverse is also true. The majority of Master students that I've watched, they play extremely aggressive and they're willing to die, get solo kill, die to their gank to figure out if they can win that trade or that matchup or not. And their knowledge is going to be built up a lot faster over time. Alright everyone, that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed the video, and feel free to let me know down below if you do like this type of content showcasing my students, or if you just have any questions in general, I'll be happy to get back to you. But if not, I'll see you guys for the next one.